So you've made this amazing soap and now you have it cut, it's cured, it's ready to go. And the next question is, what do I do to protect this soap? Do I need to wrap it? Do I need to do something else in order to present this soap either for sale or as a gift? How do I package my soaps? So let's talk about that in today's video. What do you need to do to present a cold process soap out into the world? So how do you package your soap as far as like, what do you do to the actual soap when you are giving it as a gift or you're offering it out into the world for sale? What do you need to do here? I've seen three different models out there with other soap vendors that I've seen selling soap. The first one is our own model, and that's where the soap is just open and the only thing around it is a paper wrapper. The label does need to identify some information here. There are some things you have to have on the label, but we don't do anything additional to our soap. This is cold process soap, so it needs to be in the open air to dry. And the longer you have it out in the air, the drier it is, the longer it's gonna last, and the more satisfied your customers are because this bar has lasted them a long time. They've invested sometimes a good deal of money into this bar of soap. We want to make sure they get a good deal for their money. Now, another model I have seen is where this bar of soap is shrink wrapped. And that is more typical in melt and pour type of soaps. When you're using melt and pour, you have to shrink wrap it right away. Otherwise, the glycerin leaches out of the bar. Now, that's not to say that all shrink wrapped soaps are melt and pour, but that's where that model is most useful, I think. Now, I do believe that I've seen people shrink wrap their cold process soap. In my opinion, that's not necessary because there's no benefit gained from it. You know, you're just stopping that bar from drying any further. And as long as it's cured for the full 6 weeks, you're probably okay, but there's no reason to stop it. So there's nothing wrong with shrink wrapping your cold processed soap. It's just not something we choose to do, and I don't believe it to be necessary. But that is another option that you have for packaging your soaps. Now, another one I want to show you, this is not my soap. This is one I purchased when we were on vacation. But you can get a box that's designed exactly to fit your soap bar in it. Now, these are fun. I feel like this, it's still open, so the bar can still dry. There can be a lot of fun things printed on this box, and I actually bought this box for some of the words that are on it. This is called Outlaw Soap. This soap is called Fire in the Hole. And it says, "Fire in the Hole officially smells like gunpowder, campfire, whiskey, bacon, sagebrush, and dirt." And I just love the creativity of the writing. But the thing that made me buy the soap bar was actually these little words way on the bottom, and it says here, "This package will decompose in a few months or in a few seconds with the proper application of accelerants and fire." I love the humor. I love the humor on this box. So I bought it just for that reason. But this is an example of having your soaps in a box. Now, this is very professional looking. I've seen this in gift shops a lot. It does have a couple limitations because you're now going to have to make soap that fits in your box. So that will keep you from some kinds of soap molds that are maybe a little bit wider, a little bit taller, you know, whatever. So you're locked into your soap shape. It does also add some expense because I'm sure it costs, you know, something to have this box custom printed for this company. So there are a couple of, I don't know, just things to consider as you are thinking about how you're presenting your soap, but certainly this adds a level of professionalism to the bar. Now, I will tell you that with those three options, either having your soap just open with only a paper label, having it shrink wrapped, or having it in a box, I have kind of a personal experience thing to share, just something that I've noticed out there. When you are, let's say you're just at a department store, if you found soaps for sale there, like ones that would look something similar to that in like a pharmacy or a department store, chances are those soaps are shrink wrapped. And in my mind, and this isn't to say anything about anybody's product, but in my mind, that makes them look cheaper, not because of the product, but because of where they're found. Now, in Whole Foods, in Sprouts, that's another natural food store that I've been in. Oftentimes you can find a soap display there where they are offering soaps for sale, and sometimes it's just the open bars of soap. But I've even seen a whole display, I think this was at a Whole Foods, where it's not even cut bars, it's the whole loaf of soap, and you can hack off whatever size piece you want, and then you pay for it by the ounce or the pound or something. And when I saw that display, it was under lights, and it was this whole big thing with all these different loaves. You could choose whichever you wanted. The little cutting knives were right there. And I thought, oh man, these are the fancy soaps. And if you think about it, they weren't packaged at all. It was just the loaf of soap sitting out there in the air, and you got to choose how much you wanted. So think about what your packaging says about your soap. Now, if you have a very compelling, legitimate reason that you want to shrink wrap your soaps, then go do that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But think not only about what you want for your soaps, think about what this is going to say about your product to your customer, what your customer is going to assume about your products because of the way that they're packaged. So just think about all of that as you're deciding what you do with your soap bars. Once you've decided how you're going to wrap your actual soap, it's time to think about what are you going to do to your products when it's time to sell them, when you're giving them to someone and someone's going to walk away from you with them at a craft show or other places. How are you going to package the order of all of your products? So when we are live at a craft show, or even if someone comes to our home and purchases things, we're going to package them in a brown bag with handles. And we put a sticker on it for our business just to identify that and to have a little brand recognition either at the craft show or other places. So we're going to take the soap and just wrap it up in some tissue paper. Now, when we're selling soaps to people or whatever, oftentimes they'll say, oh, you don't have to wrap it, that's fine. But what this does is it protects the soap just a little bit. And if you've made any number of soaps, you know that they do tend to get a little crummy. And we just want to keep the soaps from getting damaged. We want to keep them from smudging on any other products maybe they have purchased, and just keep that all looking really nice for them. So when they get home with their purchase, there's not, green soap smudges on their lotion, or the corners aren't damaged or anything. It just keeps everything looking good. Also, if we are working at, say, an outdoor show in the summer and it's kind of humid, the soaps will tend to get a little sticky out in weather like that. So having the ability to wrap the soaps, again, just protects them. It keeps them from being, nobody wants to put a slimy soap in their purse or anything else. So we're just going to wrap them up. That way, they're dry to handle, and they're going to dry out and be just fine once they get them home. But that's how we package an order that we're going to hand to somebody at a live show in some kind of live sale, so it's nice and handy for them, protects the soap, and keeps their order looking nice for them when they get home. One other thing we do add, though, we add business cards to each order that goes out live. We find a lot of people come back to our website because they have our web address on that card. We hand out a bunch of them. We get a bunch of people back for that reason. So that's how we pack an in-person order. When we're packing an order to be shipped, there's a couple other things that you need to keep in mind. Remember, this box is going to leave your hands and be in the hands of the post office or UPS or FedEx, and you don't know how they're going to handle this box. They certainly aren't going to be as careful and intentional with it as you are. So you want to make sure you've packed this order in a way that it's going to arrive to your customer in good shape. Now, the first step is the same. We want to protect these soaps and keep them from smudging on other things. We just want to protect the corners and the edges and keep them in as good a shape as possible. I do wrap multiple soaps in a tissue paper, but I limit it to 2 just because I want to make sure there's plenty of packing there around the bars to protect them and cushion them just a little bit. Then you're going to need a box that is an appropriate size. So I am going to add just a little bit of packing paper into my box. Now, when I put the soaps in, I'm going to try to make sure they're top up. There we go. And then we're going to put the lotion in as well. I wrap lotions, again, in a piece of tissue paper. It adds to the customer experience when they open their box and see all these fancy products that they get to unwrap and see what's in there. It also protects the label of the lotion. In transit, this could bounce around and jostle quite a bit. We want to make sure that all of these things are packed snugly so they don't wiggle, and just to protect the labels and stuff so they're not all rubbed and scuffed when they get to the customer. Now, in every order that we pack to go online, or that we pack to ship, we also include a sample bar. This isn't something that they've ordered. They don't get to choose it. We just choose, we have sample bars and we just choose one for them. We try to make it be something other than the bar fragrances that they ordered. And that way they've got just an extra little surprise, an extra little something fun. Everyone loves to get a surprise. And you would be amazed at how many people comment, thank you for the extra little bar. It was such a surprise and I so enjoyed that. All right, now we're going to add enough packing paper to the top of the box, again, to make sure that when we close the box, it isn't going to rattle or shift around, and everything in there is going to be in good shape. If this has been an online order, you're going to want to print off a packing slip. That's just a documentation that shows the person what they ordered and that everything they ordered is included in the box. I do this myself, but after I place an order, I don't always remember exactly what I ordered. So having that packing slip is a good confirmation that I remember the order that I placed and I can see that it's all in here. This will help you avoid some customer service interactions with your people as they think they ordered something additional, but in reality, they've gotten exactly what's on their packing slip. So it'll just help you with your customer service that way as well. Now, once you've got your packing slip in, close the box, make sure it's taped up well, and then print off your postage, and you are good to go. Packaging your soaps does not have to be complicated. It can be very simple and straightforward. And of course, there are also a lot of other things that you could do if you used shreds or packing peanuts or some other insert in order to keep your products separated and keep them protected. That's totally fine. You don't have to do exactly what I've done here. But it does take a little bit of thought to answer the questions. First of all, what are you going to do to your actual soap bars? How are you going to present those? And then also, what are you going to do when you're handing an order to someone or shipping it out across the country? Giving these things some thought is helpful. It helps you prepare for when those first orders come, but it also just gives you kind of an idea of how you are going to present your products to the world and make sure your customers have a great experience when they receive your products. So enjoy just putting some thought into this, maybe making a couple box purchases or something else to get what you need to package your products. If you have enjoyed our little soap tips series here and you would like to continue receiving little tips and tricks on soap making and packaging or other things that are related to soap making, be sure to join our soap making email list. We send you one email a week with just some tips and some thoughts about ways that you can learn and grow in your soap making, and also making sure you're aware of any other opportunities or fun events that we're hosting or that we have going on. The link to that email list is in the description of this video, so be sure to click that and join our list. We would love to stay in contact.